Hello, thanks for tuning to another episode of The Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor Hamza. How are you? Hope you're doing great. I had a couple of requests from people that wanted me to talk about healing trauma. I'm going to talk about that again a little bit. Now, when I wrote a blog on Victor Hamza, HAMSA, VSETUR, check it out. I have a blog. I write some things on it, and it's all free. So I wrote one on my phone the other day, and people seem to be helped by it. It was about healing with poetry. So what you do is, let's say you have a childhood trauma that you are hurt by, and now you have that. I was touching on a little bit before. Now you have that trauma, but you don't want to get involved in the trauma where you're meditating about it and you're like being back in that moment. That's not what it's about. What you do is you take that trauma and you write it down. And when you write on a piece of paper, you try to take that trauma and make a poem out of it. So you actually try to rhyme every second sentence, and while you're writing it, and it takes time. Now, what happens is that that part of your brain that actually rhymes is a deep part of your brain, and you're literally going into deep part of your brain and exercising that trauma and putting it out where you have distance between you and the trauma. You have distance. So when you write it as a poem, you actually can visit it again and read it. And being that it's a piece of art that you wrote, you're going to feel proud of it and you're going to feel distance from it. So I want everyone with childhood trauma to try this method out. And I was mentioning in my last video how I made a long video that I wrote this article, I sent it to somebody, and then they shared it to people in jail. Hopefully, a lot of people benefited from it. So I wanted people to know that when you have something that you feel like you can't talk to other people, and it's just something inside that's really been bothering you, write it down. And it helped me out a lot when I have issues and had issues. You write it down, and make something artful out of it, and it's a beautiful thing. And that's where the greatest songs and things like that, poetry, come from. Is from the heart. And if you think about it, like Crosby, Stills, and Nash, they wrote some great music, and a lot of that comes from deep parts of themselves that they were affected by. So you could do it too. So let me know the poems you come up with. All right. There's a lot of other things coming up. I have a big event, the event, coming up on the 19th of next month. I'm going to be speaking at Ashram, really 2 or 3 hours, talk about everything. You should attend. If you can't attend, you should attend. I'm trying not to hold back, but I'll see what the crowd can take. I don't want to just lay out things, and then people are too blown away. I don't want to. I try not to blow people away. I'm out there to help, but I want to be at a level where it makes sense and you can understand it, you can take it in. So just thought I'd leave a quick message for people out there in the world. Don't worry about don't worry about the how do you say it? The Schulman frequency. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the ringing. It's all good, man. It's all good. I know everything about what's going on. I have it all locked down. I have the understanding about the Mandela effect. I figured all that out. and about the Schumann frequencies and the ringing in people's ears and all that stuff. So people, have a lot of questions about certain things. Like, I'm the guy to go to. I'm the real spiritual guy. Most of these other, spiritual guys out there, I feel like are fake. And it's just really irritating to see what they're saying. And I did go to church today, and every time I'm in church, I just get real angry at certain things that the priest says. It just sets me off, and I just like did the did my bit, and I walked out. I didn't stay for the whole mass. I I have much better time going to the ashram and meditating than going to church at this point. And it's a shame, It's just such a beautiful thing that they came up with over thousands of years, 2,000 years, the mass, and everything's beautiful. But it's just even smartest priests, saying, and it's just like what they're saying, just like, like today, he said, what did he say? That really irritated me. He said, Jesus healed the earth of sin by having Christmas. And I was like, well, it's not really, that's not what the Bible says. They did, it was, and he said it 4 times in a row. It's not like he just said it. He was like, Christmas healed, Jesus healed Jesus healed the world by having his birth, his birth healed the world, his birth healed, that's not, okay, if his birth healed the world, then why did he have to learn things, right? Why couldn't he just be born and that was the end of the story, right? No, that's not at all what they were talking about in the Bible. They weren't talking about him just being born and all of a sudden magically everything's good, It's like me doing these videos. I'm not just here and all of a sudden, everything's great, Things are happening like that. But I'm saying that, a lot of things you have to work at. Like, that's why I'm doing these videos and talking. Some of these things you have to work at. It's not just me, it's you. And we have to work at it together. You can't get there alone. And we're only as strong as the weakest link. We're only as fast as the slowest car in a train, So everybody has to pull their weight. And the frequency of the earth, we want to raise that frequency, and people being negative, man, pulling it down, not too cool. So you probably have a lot of questions like, what the hell is he talking about? Schumann frequency and the Mandela effect. How's that tied together? It's not, is it not? I'm just saying, I know a lot about all these different subjects, and there's a lot of things gonna come out. I feel like I'm gonna talk about soon. It's all gonna make sense. And I'm glad you guys are with me here and watching these videos. I expected at this point to have 10,000 viewers or something, and I'll see 30 views or 40 views. Unless it's something really salacious or crazy, then people don't seem to be interested, but whatever. I think later on they'll hear more of what I'm saying, and then they'll refer back to these videos and be like, oh, okay, he did talk about stuff before, and here it is. So you'll all see, it'll all be good, man. It's all positive, everything's good. So there's a lot more direct manifestation with higher energies which are going on. So that's going on as well. So there's a lot more direct manifestation. So keep your brains in a positive place. Keep thinking positive thoughts. And like many other spiritual teachers are saying, like don't just envision it, feel that feeling. Feel like you've already got what you want and keep that vision in your mind. And that'll help give plans to that manifestation. It's like, just imagine if you like had access to a 3D printer, but that 3D printer was your reality and your mind's connected to that 3D printer. But yet you're saying to yourself, I want, it's like somebody said, like, I want money, So you're putting the 3D printer, the code, I want. So you're always going to be, wanting money. So then the reality machine, the 3D printer reality machine is pumping out the reality, boop, and you're like, oh, I still don't have money. So, the manifestations are happening quicker. So we're at a higher vibrational frequency, so you can access. And I'm using similes. I'm using metaphors. Okay, so you can access that 3D printer more easily than when you don't. So, like Jesus said, that I'll be coming with the clouds. So the clouds are the consciousness, like Christ consciousness, coming into mankind. So when we have these higher frequencies, the actual term that mystics in Jesus' time would use would mean coming on the clouds, which would mean that their consciousness were connected to the cloud, like your computer is connected to a cloud. It's the same kind of idea. A lot of these things get lost over time. It takes guys like me to figure everything out and I'm communicating with source and getting this information. So I'm happy to, relate it to you. So what's happened is that when we're at a higher vibrational frequency, then you're able to communicate with the cloud and you're able to interact in, things will manifest in a manner that's quicker than ever before. And a lot of people are shocked. They're like, what? I was, and then here it is, and how'd that happen? Just accept it, Synchronicities are pointing to things they have to pay attention to and get involved with. So, especially when you see three things happen at the same time, that's just pointing in the right direction for you. But what I want to relate to you is that I'll be giving out more information about this. So this is like a prepper, This is like a little zing, zing, wing. So it comes with a sound effect, zing. So don't worry about anything, and stay positive mindset, and try to do the poetry thing. And even if you don't have a trauma, it's cool to write poetry, and you'll be happy you did. Then you can say, "Hey, I wrote a poem." People say, "Oh, were you smarty?" Really write a good one, and the really good ones come from, the heart. So when you write one, it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be really good, and that's exciting. I wrote a lot of poetry, a lot. Didn't really show a lot of people, but when I do, they always flip out. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I mean, you should publish this. You should publish this." I never did. The couple I did, I put one out once. I won some award, but I've just been focused on spiritual stuff. Maybe one day put it out. Anyway, enough about me. talk about you. So try to do that. Use the poetry as a tool. So write it and correct it and go with your ideas. And you're actually going to change your brain when you start thinking about what rhymes with realization. What rhymes with some word, and you're like, oh, I don't know. And you change your brain. That's going to change the way your brain functions for a bit, and you're going to learn how to get to a different brain state by doing that, because you're actually making, you're tapping into that almost musical ability, because poetry's music, and which uses more of your brain. So you're getting that trauma out, and you're dealing with it in a holistic manner, holistic, whole, and you're using your entire brain to solve that problem, to take that feeling out of you, and then making it artistic. You see what it's doing? Do you get the idea behind the therapy from poetry? It's really one of the best things you could do to deal with trauma. And I was surprised when I hear nobody's doing this, and like another thing I'm inventing, right? I haven't read anybody ever using trauma for poetry, really. So unless somebody said, oh, I patented it, sure, whatever. But it's something I figured out to do. You just pray, and then you feel like you're guided to do something, you do it, and it works for you, and then here I'm relating it to you. This is 25, 30 years ago. I was writing poetry, and came up with a lot of good stuff, and I want to see you guys doing it and writing poetry and getting rid of all that trauma and healing, okay? All right? And I have, people messaging me thinking they're crazy because they see things manifesting. They're like, this is crazy. And, some of them have mental problems, but now they're thinking they're like losing contact with reality, but you're not. It's just because even though you have a mental illness doesn't mean, you're crazy. It means that, you've had issues and trauma that you have to deal with. And I talk to people sometimes who hear voices, and a lot of that has to do with, tuning into the wrong, frequencies. You're all like, your recursive self-doubt is like feedback loops, and you're just like, oh, you get angst, and you gotta like let go of that and just be at peace, and get to a higher vibrational state, and all that goes away. Anyway, try to say a little bit tonight. Like Howard Stern, I listened to a couple things. Maybe I said too much at the end of his interviews. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, and don't listen to all these fools out there. Listen to me. Listen to yourself. Listen to your higher source. Pray about it. And do what feels right. That's the most important thing. All right. Like, subscribe, share, and anything you want to say, I'll try to respond. Thanks. Bye. Peace out. Bye-bye.